Hey, Harshada.
Hi, Shashank. Can you
Hello,
hear
cool.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and we are live as well. So I guess we can get started. My stream has already started.
Okay, okay. Uh, Shashank, what I'll briefly do is, introduce, and then you can take it over from there.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Thanks everyone for joining in for our session today on exploring data engineering careers. We have our speaker for today, Shashank Mishra, who is a highly skilled data engineer with an impressive background in the tech industry. So Shashank has roughly 4 to 5 years of experience in the IT industry and is currently working as a data engineer at Expedia. Talking about a little bit of Shashank's background, Shashank has honed his expertise at Amazon and Quantum Black and has gained invaluable experience in handling large volumes of data and architecting data solutions that drive insights and innovation. As a software engineer, specializing in big data and data warehousing at Paytm, Shashank continues to push boundaries of data-driven technologies, ensuring seamless data flow and empowering data-driven decision making. With an intense passion for turning raw data into actionable intelligence, Shashank will be sharing with all of you data aspiring data engineers or data already if all of you are data engineers about various ways in which careers in the data engineering domain can be approached and will be addressing all your questions. So that being said, over to you. The virtual stage is over to you, Shashank.
All right. Thank you so much, Shraddha, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Good evening. And as Shraddha said, that I am a working professional into the data engineering domain. So for me, it's been almost 5 plus years now, and I started my journey as a software engineer. And that time, like passed out from college, had no idea about big data, what it is. I think a common challenge with all of us when we are in the college, we are primarily focused on curriculum, not exploring things which are currently trending in the industry. So same mistakes I also made, but uh, in 2017 when I started my career in service based company. So there I was working as a software engineer, and luckily in the service based company, right, the main advantage is that they are working on different areas, and that was one of the thing which happened there. And there were teams who were working on big data, and that was a time when I got to know about, okay, this big data is something which is currently going on in the industry, and people are uh, just looking after it as a good career opportunity. Plus the demand is going to be uh, like very crazy in upcoming years, and we all have witnessed that, right? If you look at the last 1 and 2 years in terms of the innovation, the big data, AI, chat GPT, right, all those things, you have seen that how fast we are growing into it. And most of the organizations are completely dependent on the data driven decisions. Yeah, that's the primary reason. So when I got to know about it, I worked on my skills, core skills. I improved myself. I worked on good hands-on project that was like self-made, because the main challenge with the data engineering profile is that it's not very straightforward like software engineering or front-end development, back-end development, where you can clone everything, right? Big data, if you want to do some hands-on, you need data, right? Working something on 100 rows, 1000 rows is not going to give you that experience. So that was the challenge for me at that time, but somehow I managed. So this is how my journey started. Then worked at McKinsey, Paytm, Amazon, now at Expedia. So if I have to add my experience, first of all, many of the aspiring data professionals have this question that they want to become a data engineer or they want to kickstart their career in the data engineer. So what is their primary question is that why we should choose the data engineering, and I will start answering it. But before, I have to explain one major difference, because when we talk about the big data, majority of the time you will see people are running behind the data science and machine learning things, and it's very obvious because of the hype in the industry, and because people just think that it is the most easiest part, right, to get into the data field, right? That's the main reason. So, what I want to add here, first, let's understand the difference between these three profiles: the data engineering, data scientist, and data analyst. Then we'll talk about it, that how it is actually going to happen for you if you are planning to move into the D domain. So, think about any platform, right, which we are using in our day-to-day basis, right? So, best example is Amazon e-commerce platform, or any type of platform which you are using for the window shopping, right? So let's say they are working, this is the platform, right? And when you are working on that platform, so how it is going to work for you, this will be like a proper application. It could be a like Android application, iOS application, and the web application. So as a user, whatever activities we are doing, if we are purchasing something, if we are doing something, so in that case, whatever we are doing, that data is going to be captured, right? It could be any database, it could be any file system, the cloud storage, right? So that data will be captured. Now, since there are lots of competitors in the market, be it the e-commerce platform, there are many competitors. So if somebody has to compete with their competitors, obviously you have to take the smart data driven decisions, and then you will be able to stand in the market. So talking about the responsibilities of a data engineer, though, so they actually handle the core engineering type of responsibilities, right? Building these scalable data pipelines. Okay. So the data which was being captured by the company, the platform. So now we want to take some data driven decisions on top of it. But when the platform was capturing the data, right, it's not ready to use, it's completely raw, right? There might be many issues, data related issues in the raw data itself, right? And most important part, if you want to do the analytics on top of it, first you need to bring that data into the system itself, right? So once that data is into the system, then we will be able to run the analytical queries on top of it in the distributed manner, distributed computation, distributed storage, right? So, in order to bring this large scale data, which can be in the real time, right, where thousands of records are coming into the system within few seconds, and even it could be a petabyte or terabyte of data, maybe millions of rows to be processed in the batch form, right? So the data engineers will be writing those complex, scalable, optimized data pipeline using the distributed computation frameworks, programming languages, and the deployment tools, and databases, transactional NoSQL databases, data warehousing services, right? Using all those components, they will be creating these kind of pipelines, right? And data engineering team closely work with the you can say analyst folks, and even the business analytics folks, even the stakeholders itself. So when data engineers are writing those pipelines, they will be applying the same business rules which will be shared by the stakeholders, so that that data can be processed as per the rule, right? After doing all those things, data will be made available into the system. It that kind of system which is queryable, right? Or we can build dashboard on top of it. So that is the part of the data engineers. Now coming to the data scientist and analyst part. So data analysts are those folks basically who work more on the data representation side. So when I say the data representation, what it actually means, that data which was processed by the data engineers and in the transformed shape, because data engineers did that ETL part, extraction, transformation, and load, and now data is loaded into the downstream system. So on top of that, these data analysts will try to do the data representation, because at the end your client or the CXOs, they are interested into that visual picture of the transformed data, so that they can see the pattern. So the main responsibility of a data analyst to analyze the transformed data, to build the patterns and represent it, right? So this is the responsibility of these people. Now talking about the data scientists, these are the folks who solve more complex data related problems by using the mathematical and statistical concepts, right? Like creating those kind of models which can basically work on the data which is incoming into the system, and they will try to build those models in such a way that somehow your the what I should say, basically the models they are actually building, those models are basically your mathematical equations, right? So if you remember the way you do mathematics in your school time or in your 10 plus 2, right, you have to write some sort of generic equations so that it can accept many input data points and it can satisfy something. Okay, so in the same way, these guys will be doing these type of complex data analysis, writing or creating these kind of models which can work on the incoming data and following the same pattern, right? Following the same pattern to predict something, to generate something, right? To recommend something. So this is how the data scientists are actually going to work, and this is not something which is what I should say, uh, specifically for the data analysis part, like solving the complex problem. Nowadays, data is something which is data is something which is in different shapes, right? Sometimes it's in the row columnar form, right? The tabular form. Sometimes it is in pure unstructured form, right? And when I say unstructured, maybe a video or image, right? So this is how the data is, and that's why the role of data scientist is much more important there, because they are creating those kind of sophisticated models which can analyze that input and work as per the model which has been built on top of it. Okay, so the best example could be image detection, right? So even within the data science there are multiple segregations, right? You can go into the ML engineering, you can become a NLP engineer, right? And you can go into the deep learning part, right? So multiple segregation. So with this example, at least you have got the understanding what is the clear cut difference between these profiles. Now if somebody reach out to me that I have this type of experience, I belong to this domain, then which should be my best choice in terms of the data related job profile? So my first answer to them is that you should not go behind any job profile if someone is just recommending you. Okay, so your first step to decide the best career path for you, to check that whether your interest is actually mapping with a particular job profile or not. So now since I talked about these three profiles specifically, so your next action item should be, let's check the roadmap, right? Let's check the roadmap of these three things: data engineering, data scientist, and data analyst, right? And once you have the clear cut roadmap of each of the profile, then you should try to map your interest. Because if you had some past background in the IT industry, then you might be having some interest, like you like SQL much, you like working around the databases, you like working around the programming, right? Because everyone has their own taste and they have their own capabilities and skill sets. So you should try to map it. Okay, so I will definitely specifically talk about the data engineering part. So let's touch upon the roadmap and then again try to evaluate why you should go into the data engineering. So talking about the data engineer, right, as I said, these are the folks who are going to solve the engineering problems. And when we talk about the engineering problems, it is more important that how you are going to build it. So your software engineer type of mindset is definitely required there, right? So ultimately, if you want to give another definition to data engineering profile, those kind of software engineers who are like working closely and extensively on the data itself, right? So that is why the very first or the baby step to get into data engineering, you have to be really good in the programming part, right? Programming part. Now your next question will be the choice of language. So it can be anything. When I say it can be anything, you can start with Python, Java, and Scala. These are the three languages which are popular in the data engineering domain. Now, from my side, the recommendation would be Python because it will open many doors of opportunities for you. Because let's say after 2 3 years you want to get into data science or data analyst, then there you will find Python as the only choice or the R language, right? And many other languages are also coming slowly, gradually, like Julia in data science itself. So it will keep on coming. Now the next step would be the SQL and databases part. And this is the common skill set among all these three profiles: your data science, data engineering, data analyst, right? Because ultimately, when we talk about the large data or something, the distributed databases like NoSQL will come into picture, and transactional and vertically scalable databases like MySQL, Postgres will come into picture. So, as a data engineer, you should have a very, very good expertise in these things. And on top of it, the SQL part, right, which is going to play a important role in your interviews and in your day-to-day activities. So you have to be really good on that part, right? And SQL is something where if you only have the basic knowledge of SQL, that is not enough to crack the role, right? You have to move from the basic to the advanced part of SQL, like the window functions and this part, right? For the programming part, at least you can have some relaxation. Why? Because data engineering profile is not a very typical software engineering profile. So even in the interviews, your questions will vary from this easy to medium range, the problem solving or the coding questions, not more than that, right? So your programming covered, your databases, NoSQL databases part covered, SQL part covered. Now you need to focus on the core part of the big data, distributed computation, parallel computing, these type of things, right? So for that one, start with the big data fundamentals, explore Hadoop as an framework, learn about the architecture, then jump on the Spark, right? Apache Spark, all these things, right? Then the next step, if you want to add more value in your skill set, you can explore Apache Flink, Apache Flume, Apache Niffy. But starting three are much more important. Now, once this part is sorted, so when I said as a data engineer, right, we are processing huge amount of data and it should be consumed from, or it should be dumped into some type of data warehouses services as well. And sometimes, right? Why? Because these data warehouses services are actually meant for the analytical queries. So good example is like Snowflake, Apache, sorry, AWS Redshift, right? Apache Hive. These are actually your data warehousing services because they are capable of storing huge amount of transformed structured data, so that like heavy analytical queries can be done on top of it. So once you are covered till this point, obviously some type of orchestration tool you also need to focus on, like Apache Airflow, very popular in the industry. And till this point you have covered the core data engineering part, right? The frameworks, all those things which will be required. After that, the skills which will be the plus point for you, those like getting into the understanding of CI/CD pipelines deployment. So they are like GitHub Actions, Docker, Kubernetes, right? And Jenkins, these kind of things which are going to be super important to add on the plus points in your portfolio and in your resume. And the last thing, which will be a good value, like for you, considering your future in the IT industry, the exposure to the cloud, right? Because nowadays we all know most of the companies are on the cloud and they are using it aggressively, right? Most of the companies are on the cloud, they have migrated it. So you need to work on the cloud part, right? And when I say the cloud part, try to get the exposure of all these type of big data related services which you will be using in order to create the cloud agnostic data pipelines. But one of the question I frequently get from the users, that which cloud platform to start with. So we have AWS, we have Azure, we have GCP. My recommendation is start with anything. Start with any cloud platform, because when we say these cloud platforms, so they have not built anything out of the blue, right? Or something which is not available as an open source, or something which is not even available with other cloud platform. So these three cloud platforms majorly have this similar type of services. For an example, storage. So AWS has a service named as AWS S3, which is for storage. Azure has a service named as Azure Blob, which is basically for the storage. GCP has the service named as GCP Storage, which is specifically for the data storage part, right? So all these cloud providers have created the same type of services. So you need to focus on anyone, start with anyone, and wherever in the industry you get the exposure to work on any other cloud platform, just do that. So this was the overall picture about the roadmap. So now my recommendation, that why you should come into the data engineering part and how you should figure it out. So try to check whether you have that type of engineering mindset or not, because there will be two type of professionals maybe, who want to get much more into the business aspect of it and do not have that much interest in the coding part. Then the analyst or the data science type of profile is a good fit for you. But for the data engineering specifically, you have to be ready with the engineering mindset, that I have to solve complex engineering problems, also the programming part. So that is how you can figure out if your interest lies in that area, then this is the profile for you. If not, then check for the analyst and the data science profile. So far we have covered the differences, the roadmap, and why you should pick this profile, and how you should figure it out. Maybe to add on why you should look for the data engineering in the coming years, and even maybe starting from 2023 itself, because of the demand, right? As I said, you can understand the importance of the data engineers in the industry which is working on the some type of data related problem, right? If they are trying to solve it, then you need something like that, right? You need something uh, where a person can create these type of scalable data pipelines, so that data is available into the system 24 into 7 for the query and the analysis. All right. So this is the reason, and obviously the paycheck part. So definitely 4 or 5 years back, the data engineers even were not that much paid well, even with respect to the software engineers. But now this gap has completely vanished from the industry, right? We are getting equivalent paid to, like, as compared to the software engineers. So in terms of the pay scale and in terms of the job opportunities are there with all good product based companies. If you talk about the data engineering job profile, now the most important part, if I am starting my journey in the data engineering, then how how can I work on my skills portfolio, and how will I be able to stand out of the crowd? So one word answer for this one: work on the projects, right? Because learning by doing is the actual key to your success, irrespective of your domain. Even if you want to become a doctor, right? If you are just only going through with the theory part of it, right, and you have not done any practicals, how would you be like calling yourself as a doctor, right? Similarly, an engineer, right, if he's just going through with the theory, did not build anything in real, right, then how it is going to add value and how it is going to add experience. In the same way, right, if you want to crack good companies, good product based companies, including like Mang, Meta, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, all those things. So the way you want to crack it, right, the main key to success is work on the good projects. And as I said, still there is a main challenge with the data engineering profile is that good projects are definitely not available in the you can say internet, and even on the websites there is no dedicated platform for it specifically. So how this problem is going to be solved, and that is the part where even Project Pro played a very good role, right? Very good and very important role, because as I said that as a data engineer, aspiring data engineer, I faced so many challenges with respect to add good projects in my portfolio, right? I faced lots of challenges that what type of project I should work on, right? If I have only 5 6 skill set, what could be good problem statements that I can play around this project, and I can even add it into my portfolio, and even I can contribute into my organizations, because the similar kind of problem which is mentioned in the project, maybe somewhere down the line we will be also solving that type of problem statement in our company, or maybe currently we are about to solve it. That is the part like where Project Pro has done a commendable job to bring this type of idea, that create a dedicated platform where it's all about the data projects, right? So this is the beauty, and here things are very curated. I mean, it's not like a simple project which is available on the GitHub without any step by step guidance how to run it, execute it, deploy it, right? And what is the meaning of it, what type of data we are processing, what is the code, right? And obviously that how to understand it, if I get stuck somewhere, then whom to consult, right, whom to reach out. So all these type of challenges Project Pro has definitely solved, and they have these type of like enormous number of projects. So doesn't matter you are a data engineer, data scientist, ML, right, they have the projects for you, and industry level, not like a data which has been mocked up, or a problem statement which is a very common general, or a mock up problem statement. It's a pure industry level, you can say problem statements, and even designed by the professionals who are working in the industry itself, right? You will be getting the mentorship from them as well whenever you get stuck. The well documented projects, well tested projects, it's just you need to go through with the problem statement and deploy it and go through it. So this is how, like, at least I'm very happy that Project Pro solved this type of challenge, and I would highly recommend that if you are looking for something like this, you want to add something in your portfolio, this will be your go to platform to explore it. So that was all about the data engineering thing. I wanted to majorly express that how you can start, and what is the roadmap, the differences, and how you can add good portfolio, and how you can work on the good projects. So yeah, this is was pretty much. So Shraddha, over to you.
Sorry, thanks, Shashank, for briefing our audience about how one can approach a data engineering career. Uh, Now we will be taking questions. So I urge all of you to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Shashank queries. Yeah, this is your opportunity to go ahead, and no matter what query you have, Shashank will be able to answer it for you.
All right, so Shraddha, I guess you can see the questions in the comment section itself. So Can you open and click on the questions?
Okay.
It will be displayed on the screen and I can answer.
Okay. So can you talk a little bit more about machine learning DevOps?
So that is basically the ML ops part you are talking about it. So it's definitely has come into the trend, and at least in last 2 years, right? There are you can say it has become a very valuable part, right? Even if you are going for the data science related roles and specifically the ML engineer, and even companies have the profiles for the ML ops part, right? ML ops engineer, right? So this is definitely a good you can say skill set to work on, and good direction to follow for in the next upcoming years. Definitely there will be ample amount of opportunities for this ML ops part specifically, and that makes you a complete package, right? Because if there is a company who has to hire a data scientist and who has to hire a ML ops engineer separately to do something which probably can be done by you, if you are a data scientist and you have explored the ML ops part, that would be a really good thing to have. So I would highly encourage, if you are getting into it, then you should definitely explore this thing.
Okay, we have another question that says, is data engineering becoming more popular than data science? I think you've already addressed this question, right, about how data engineering is picking up traction.
Yep, absolutely. So, see, data science, and the main reason was right the bubble burst, because in the very beginning, even I mentioned that the main reason for the popularity and all the hype, right? And majority of the people, even if they are a non-tech person, right, they were just unnecessarily running behind it, and the reason was maybe from their friends, relatives, or by watching some ads they got to know about this hype that that you will be getting this much of package, blah blah, right? So that was something which was trending in the industry. But now, as people are getting aware, I mean, now I am sitting here and spreading my experience in front of you to make you aware about the data engineering itself, that what kind of importance it has, and what kind of problems we are solving, what kind of paycheck we are getting, what type of opportunities we are having. So all those things clearly justify that why data engineering is becoming so much popular, and many interesting use cases to work on, really good tech stack to follow on. So yeah, overall, definitely good thing to start with in the 2023, if you actually want to work on some really good engineering problems.
Okay. Shashank, we have another question from Ekansh. He says he is already working as a data engineer and he's stuck in daily tasks on Azure, Databricks, ADF. Any advice on how to upskill now, or any further certifications or
Mhm.
projects that he can
So,
work on to
mhm.
become
So
adept at all
idea,
of
yeah, yeah. So the main idea would be, as you are saying, Gikash, that uh, I am getting stuck. It's maybe so there any specific certification and all those things are not going to help you much, because still again there you are going to get the high level overview and how to use something, but you will get the experience when you are actually implementing it, failing it, debugging it, and fixing it, right? So the good way to get a good expertise on it and to be more efficient on it, work on more and more projects, right? The variety of problems you will be solving, the number of times you will get stuck in a problem statement and you will try to debug it, you will fix it, it will give you a really good confidence to you, first of all. And it will basically help you to understand that if I'm working on XYZ data engineering project completely on Azure, then what kind of challenges I can face. So next time when you are working on a different project, you will be already having those learnings with you, and even in the beginning you can fix it, and you will not have any such issue that how I should fix this problem. So it's the main way you can work on it. It's work on more projects. Obviously you will fail, you will stuck, and right, being a data engineer, I also get stuck many times while solving any data engineering problem. But that time I not feel demotivated, because wherever I got stuck, it is going to give me a good learning, because maybe this would be a problem which I never faced earlier, and I'm facing it for the very first time. That's why I do not know about its solution, and that's how experience comes in, and that's how we grow in the industry.
Okay. So we have another question that says, how is Project Pro different from Geeks to Geeks website?
So that other edtech I'm talking about, they are more into the theoretical aspects more. But here, Project Pro, the way they differentiate, it's all about, like even the name suggests, project, right? Here you are only going to get the exposures of the practical industry level projects, right? If you want to work on 100 projects, you will be getting 100 projects, and all those 100 projects, different problem statement, different industry level project itself, right? So it's not like a typical course, right, where somebody is going to come and teach you. It's all about, if you have the skills, you want to work on the good projects to add in your portfolio, even to get the experience from the project and use the same learning in the same project or same type of project in your company. This is what Project Pro is made for.
Okay. We have another question that says, regarding learning Python, what libraries are the most common for data engineers that you recommend to become master or to master at basically?
Mhm. So see, Python, because one good point about Python, that we already have started calling it as a language of the data. And even in the beginning, I mentioned that if you start with Python, that is going to open many door of opportunities for you, because in data analyst and in the data science part, these folks are using Python extensively. But in data engineering, sometimes you will have multiple options. You can even create data pipelines in Java, in Scala, in Python. So, as a data engineer, the typical libraries we keep on using, it is more related to database connectivities, right? Those type of libraries we'll be using. Pandas, NumPys for the data analysis we'll be using, and in order to call the APIs, we'll be using the request. In order to work with the logging, right? We'll be having that library. In order to work with the JSON and CSV, we'll be having a different library. So these are the common one which you will keep on using it, but the range of the library or a list of libraries definitely not fixed, because maybe after 2 years I got a chance to work on such type of project which is completely different, and it might have like different type of complexities to solve. So maybe you need a support of a very new library or that type of library in Python which you have not explored previously, and it will keep on coming, right? That's how the whole development process works, because as an engineer, right, you cannot memorize anything. You cannot memorize a complete programming language, its library syntaxes, it, and same goes for the frameworks itself. That experience will keep on coming. That experience will keep on coming if you work on different type of use cases projects, and you will keep on learning it, right? It will be there with you, and you will be able to solve problems.
How much DSA, how important is DSA in data engineering, and
Yeah.
would a
So
fresher be required to
yeah,
learn?
that's a good question. So again, this type of question I again get it very frequently. So my answer for that one, data engineering is not like a typical software engineering profile where in the interviews you are expected to basically work on or basically you are expected to solve hard level of programming questions from the tree graph dynamic programming, or you have to be a competitive coder, right? Or you have to have experience solving problems on code forces hacker rank. No, this type of expectation is not there for the data engineering profile. In the interviews, their major focus basically for the companies is on the you can say easy to medium level of problem solving questions, typically involving the concept of arrays, string, stack, queue, basic, very basic dynamic programming, sometimes linked list, right? Python related typical data structures, list, tuples, dictionaries. So this is how they are going to ask it. So the level is going to be between easy to medium, nothing more than that. In my 6 years, I have interviewed at many good product based companies, and these are the questions they actually ask to me.
Is dashboarding or any dashboarding skills like Tableau, Power BI required for a data engineer?
For data engineering profile, it's good to have, but it's not a mandatory skill set. For the analyst profile, this is definitely a mandatory one.
Could you suggest any good websites or links to know more about modern advancement that happens in the data engineering field? Most sites provide info about data science, AI, ML, but nothing on data
So
engineering.
for the advancement, right, there is nothing very specific, but for that one, as a data engineer, the best practice what I follow, I try to keep on exploring the tech blog pages of different companies like Meta, Uber, Misho, Airbnb, Spotify, right? So these type of companies have their tech blog pages as well, and time to time they keep on putting the type of use cases they have solved in their organizations, high level architecture diagram of it, the challenges they face, the type of tech stack they use, and what they achieved by that particular problem, right? So that is how you can keep on looking into it, that what is new going on in the industry and how they try to solve it. So this is a very good effective way to know more about it.
Okay. What approach would you suggest somebody takes up to switch from ETL or a reporting career to data engineering or data science?
So I guess I have already answered it in the very beginning, because again, if you are making up your mind to go into these type of profiles, first you should map your interest, right? I talked about the roadmap of the data engineer. Similarly, you can explore the roadmap of data science, data analyst. Now you can compare, right? Because you have worked in the ETL space, reporting space. So I'm definitely hoping you have a good expertise on the SQL, good expertise on the data domain, business problems, right? All those things you already know. You know the crux of ETL processing. So it's time to analyze or to figure out what do you like the most, right? If you have data engineering profile, these are the skill set and these are the responsibilities of a data engineer. Try to check whether you are going to enjoy it or not, because the roadmap, the skill set, and the responsibilities will give you a clear cut idea that whether this particular profile is aligned with your interest or not. If you feel so, then go for data engineering. If you do not feel comfortable with the programming or solving complex engineering problems using the fundamentals of software engineering, then probably skip this profile and get into the data science or data analyst type of job profile.
Okay. Um, Sina Ahmadi says, I see most job advertisements asking for experience with code review, testing, etc. For a person who's new in the field. How can I improve these skills or how can I
So
get a
yeah, so
grasp of it?
see, this is code review, testing. This is a part of development life cycle itself, right? So this will be expected from those candidates who are in the this who are actually in the domain or who have the experiences. So why this is going to help the companies? Because ultimately when you are building something, right, so testing needs to be done properly, And also, why code review part? Because when you are working on a project, you will be working in a team, so on a same project and same use case, right? More than one people will be collaborating, so you have to be good on that part as well to understand what someone else is writing, whether he is following the best practice in the code, making it modular, readable, and functional, whatever it is. And same on the testing side as well. So in order to deliver a good quality product, even especially for the data engineering, right? If you have to build a scalable data pipeline, it has to be well tested. You need to write the test cases for it, but that comes with experience. If you are going for the entry level fresher profile, companies are not going to expect anything from you with respect to these best practices, because they also know that you have just started your career and you need time, right? Because as a junior engineer, most of the time your code will be reviewed by the senior engineer. You will not be reviewing the code of a senior engineer or something like that, right? So this is the thing. And for the entry level profile, obviously this is not expected, but for mid senior and beyond that one, this would be expected. But in the interviews, they are not going to ask you that can you write the test case for it or anything like that. I mean, it could be a matter of discussion that if you are building this profile, then what type of best practices do you follow? Then obviously, as a candidate or experienced candidate in the data engineering, I will be talking about all these points, that I will build my profile and these will be the components for which I will be writing the test cases. I will test it. This should be my test criteria, right? This should be the passing criteria. So then you have to talk about it. But for the entry level or a complete fresher, no, this is not expected.
Okay. Any more questions? Go ahead, folks. Go ahead and type in. Okay. Any suggestions on data quality checks in a streaming data pipeline? Asked by Aman.
All right. So, any suggestion on data quality check, say in a streaming data pipeline? So, data quality checks. So, in the streaming specifically, first of all, it should be validated on the source side, and source side meant, and then if you are consuming it, right? So the first data quality check you should apply on the, like, after doing the data deserialization itself, right? Because if you are consuming it from the streaming type of platform like Kafka, Kinesis, anything, right? So the upstream service might be writing data in the serialized format. So the very first thing you need to check there, if you have deserialized it, it is according to the expectation or not. Because sometime maybe the data, the upstream team which has published, it is not according to the schema which you are supposed to use in your code base, right? Or you are working on it. Next data quality check will be on the duplicacy side as well, right? Because the data duplicacy is the main common problem in the streaming pipelines, because you never know whenever some type of glitches are happening on the upstream team. If it is happening, then they will replay it, right? And during the replay reprocess part, obviously tons of duplicates will again come back. So majority of the time we focus more on that part, that you should have a like dedupe handling logic, so that you are preventing it in such a way that you are not processing the duplicate data. And another part, from your application side itself, during the restart, right, the way you should create it, that proper offset management, right? And proper checkpointing, right? If you are creating your streaming application, that this should be your quality check itself. Means if your application is restarting, then after the restart, right? It should start from the previous successful point, and again, it should not impact your previously computed results. So these are the main common challenges we face with the streaming pipelines, and DDU, data filtration related thing, we apply even in the very beginning in order to avoid unnecessary processing in the streaming application. So this would be the thing I would recommend.
How to proceed to become a data architect considering someone is an experienced
Experience
data
in data
engineer?
engineer. So that is there. If your next ladder is the data architect, right? So there, what my recommendation would be focusing more on the designing part of the pipelines, right? Designing part of the pipelines, and having good expertise on different type of tech stack, right? Let's say as an experienced data engineer, you are limited to few options only, right? Then this is the time for you where you should explore vast range of the tech frameworks. Even if you are basically looking for the streaming related data pipelines, then look for all possible options which can be included in your streaming project. And you need to be really good in terms of the judgment, in terms of the scalable design, in terms of the costing part of it, in terms of the impact on the business, right? All those type of visionary capabilities you should have to become a good data architect, right? Your business fundamentals should be very strong. If you are just only good in the tech side, maybe that is not going to add more value. And this is what I have learned from the data architects whom I worked with, especially in the Amazon and Expedia. They are really good in the business problems, right? Even a project manager or a TPM cannot give me those answers which I directly get from the architect, because he has just deep dived into it. Because at the end, we would like to solve the business from the technology, right? Our first priority to solve the business with the help of technology. We should not be biased toward any specific technology, because as an engineer, I have specifically used it for so many years. So this is how a data architect work. And at this level, or if you are targeting the architect roles, then the good certifications, architect level of certifications, going to help you a lot. Not just to like add something in your portfolio, it's just to get uh, basically to get into that expertise level, right? If you are, for example, AWS certification we have for the architect role, that is something which is going to helpful. Similarly, exploring the other tech stack I talked about, streaming, even in the batch and low code ETL tools as well, orchestration side as well, databases side as well, knowing the trade-offs, comparisons. So this is how you will be able to get into the data architect role. And designing should be your focus area along with the understanding of business.
Okay. How would generative AI impact data engineering or data science careers?
Generative AI would impact data engineering. Honestly, I have not seen anything. Data science part itself. So generative AI is basically what, right? It is something like you already have, right, some knowledge system which you are going to use to solve much more fascinating problems. So definitely it is there. It is there to help us. It is there to increase our productivity. It is there to solve much more fascinating problems, because the way we are advancing, especially for these profiles, data domain profiles, right? Obviously we are talking about whether AI is going to take our job, right? See, actual product development is very sophisticated, right? You cannot rely on the AI component, and you cannot trust it 100%, right? And that is the reason, at least to solve these sophisticated problem statement, definitely you need that type of human brain who can understand the business, who can just tune the architecture or build the scalable architecture as per that one, right? Because AI will be able to help us to speed up the development process by, let's say, giving us the code snippets if we want to build something very quickly, but it is not there to do everything. Maybe writing scalable code from start till the end, and deploying it, or all those things. There will be more and more AI oriented tools will keep on coming, definitely. Maybe a low code ETL tools. Maybe we can see something in future for the distributed computation itself, that the most challenging part nowadays itself, even if you are working on data engineering and creating pipelines, then the optimization part of it, right? Maybe we might get that type of support in the framework itself, where the during the runtime itself, the framework will be able to analyze the statistics of the data or the performance, and based on that, the auto scaling part can be improved more. So these type of innovations will definitely keep on coming, but human brain is definitely required to solve these type of engineering problems and the complex data analytics problems. So yeah, both will work together. uh, that's my take on it.
How much programming is required to start or make a career transition to Azure data engineering?
uh, Easy to medium, I guess. I already answered it two times, so this is the only level you need to touch upon with respect to programming or data structures algorithm you are talking about.
Okay. So with that, we'd like to bring this session to an end. Any last words, Shashank, for all our viewers about motivation, or just in general how to approach a career within the data engineering domain?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the only point which I would like to share, because I want you guys to be aware. That's the only motivation just I would like to give from my side. That do not follow someone blindly. When I'm saying follow someone blindly, specifically when you are exploring, right? So now, today, even after having this session, do not get into data engineering because as an experienced data engineer, I am sharing my experience, right? Learn from different experiences, learn from different experienced folks, right? But always prioritize your experience, always prioritize your interest, because this is the most, you can say, sad thing I have seen, that people just follow someone blindly or someone's advice very blindly and just get into it, and maybe after 1 month or something they start regretting about it, because they are not capable to do that. And maybe capable, like not able to, not capable to do that is a wrong word to use here. Maybe uh, they they are not interested to do that, right? You were interested into the programming, you were interested into the engineering problems, right? And unnecessarily you are going into the data science or data analyst because maybe your some of the relatives or your friend of friends suggested that this is a easy way to get into IT. Okay, that is the main important part, and this is how even I did it. When I was transitioning from the software engineering, I had two thoughts, right, completely in my mind, that I was really interested in the coding part, and I was really interested into the engineering problems. So when I was trying to look for these transitions, I also explored all these three profiles, right? And I figured out that I'm someone who is not a big fan of mathematics or these kind of things. Then instantly I rejected the data science path, that no, this is not something for me. The data analyst part, as I said, these are the folks who are much more into the business aspect, right? Who are much more into the business aspect. So my another thought was that uh, I love programming, I love engineering related things, I do not want to get into this thing, right? So that's why instantly I rejected the data analyst path as well. Now when I analyzed, data engineering was something which was like close match for my interest, and that's how I was able to get into it. That's the only thing I just like to convey at the end, that prioritize your experience. Industry is very going is growing very very fast, so you have to keep yourself up to dated. Do not stick to the legacy frameworks, legacy things which are running in this in the industry for last 5 to 8 years. Keep yourself up to date, look forward for all those new tech stack tool frameworks are coming in the industry. Expand your network, right? Get connected with the like minded people, learn from their experiences, what type of problem they are solving, what type of tech stack they are using. And if you are trying to get into this field, then your primary focus should be on the projects part. Learning by doing should be your thumb rule. Work on the practical and industry level projects so that you can add it into the portfolio. So that would be my end note for this session. And yeah, it was really wonderful sharing my experience here, and the questions part definitely really good. And I hope I have answered all your queries. So yeah, thanks for asking these wonderful questions.
Uh, thanks, Shashank. For those whose questions haven't been answered, we will, reply. I mean, your questions will appear in the comment section, so we will get back to you post this live session. Another thing that I'd like to stress upon is all the viewers request you to check out the Project Pro link in the description box. And if you buy the subscription using that particular link, you will be, getting discounts, special discounts. So go ahead and check out the link in the description. On that note, I would like to end this session. Thanks, Shashank, for taking out the time on a weekday, enlightening all of our audience about, just career paths that one could take in the data engineering domain. Um, all right, thanks very much for your time, and
All
that's
right,
that's it
thank
for today.
you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye bye.